It's all right. We're recording. Um, this session is entitled Canvas Training for On-Campus Faculty, but certainly it's basically, as I said, basically a general introduction to Canvas, and online faculty are certainly welcome. I see at least one of them there. And I would like to keep a record of who's done this in case there is a question from administrators or whomever later on. I think each of you knows how to use the chat tool now, so if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment, mouse over me, you'll see the menu appear at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and click on the chat tool. If you wouldn't mind just putting your name and your email address in the chat tool, and I'll save that. And then we'll have a record of attendance. Quicker and better than handing a legal pad around, and a little more practical given that I'm in Idaho. Thanks, Fred.
No problem.
I love this tool. I love Zoom.
Yeah. Cool.
It's about my favorite way to teach. I'd rather do this than in a classroom because I don't have to shout. Also don't have to walk around.
So how many can you have participating?
The standard Zoom Pro account allows 100.
Okay.
This one is a large room that we bought that will accommodate up to 300.
Okay.
So no limitations there.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see about 50 people at one time if they all have webcams.
Really?
Yeah, it's
very, very tiny icons, right?
they get pretty tiny if you have that many people. That's rare, say the least. But you can see them well enough to see what's going on. You can tell if someone's asleep or or confused, whatever, just by looking. So and you can see them better than you can in the classroom. At least I can now. So I love this. Thank you so much for doing that, Samantha, John. Very well. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Dave Giberson. Till about 1.5 years ago, I was the Senior Instructional Design Coordinator for the Online Learning Pathways Group at the San Diego District. Now I'm just a senior citizen, retired and living in Idaho. But they asked me to come back and help with this Canvas transition for a few months. So here I am, and here we are. And it's great. I'm enjoying it. It's great to see people again or meet new folks at the district and help out with this transition to Canvas, which I think is really going to be exciting and fun. Canvas is a wonderful system. It's quite powerful. There's never 100% feature congruence between two major software systems, but you can do almost everything you can do in Blackboard and Canvas. And there's some things you can do in Canvas that you can't do in Blackboard. That's the way it is. There's always some things in the old system you'd like to keep that aren't in the new system, but we didn't have much choice about going to Canvas, so we're, in fact, it was a good choice by the California community colleges to use this system, and we'll see some of the best things about it as we go through it today and take a quick look at it. This session is going to concentrate on content creation and content importation in Canvas, getting your course ready for your students, so the course content ready. Not so much with things like assessment, grading, and communication, though we'll mention those peripherally as we go along as well. And we will have other sessions that deal with those things in more detail. And there's lots of information online. Indeed, most of the day here, I'm going to be sharing my screen with you. So let me go ahead and do that. Make sure everybody can see that. Share. And let me bring up. And you should now be seeing our syllabus outline for today's session. And I've introduced myself. And we're ready to start talking about Canvas. Unless I see otherwise, either in chat or audibly, I'm going to assume you can see this. You seeing that okay, Fred?
Yeah,
No
problem.
good. Coming through. All right. Should be going to everyone then. First thing you need to know, of course, is how to get to Canvas. We do have a fully functional Canvas production system running. Matter of fact, we've been running pilot courses on it last semester and this semester with about 400 or 500 students each semester. And that's been going quite well. Students seem to love Canvas, or at least they don't hate it like they do Blackboard. we'll take that. But here is the URL for Canvas. It's very simple and very similar to the one that we use for Blackboard. It's just sdccd.instructure.com. Instructure is the name of the company that writes Canvas. Let me go ahead and put that in the chat tool. I'll get chat to pop up here for me. Come on. Okay, I'm just going to stop the share a minute and do that from here. So there's the URL for Canvas. Very quick to go back and forth between screen sharing and video in Zoom. So let's go ahead and take a look at the login page. Oh, well, even before we do that, let me talk a little bit about these online resources for Canvas. Indeed, the first thing you do when you're approaching any new complex software system is learn how to get help. And there's a tremendous amount of help in Canvas. We have our own local Canvas tutorials, which we have been creating over the last couple of years, knowing this was coming. We have tutorials provided by Instructure, the company that writes the system, for both just a huge number of tutorials for both instructors and students. I'll show you how to get to these in a minute. You don't really need these URLs anymore. We have those in the help system in Canvas. But I'll tell you what I do when I need to find something out about Canvas. I just go to Google and I type in a question like, how do I change my password in Canvas? And here are just a gajillion answers to that question from Instructure and from other schools all over the country and all over the world who use Canvas now. I have very seldom had that approach fail me. That's my go-to when I want to know how to do something in Canvas. I just go straight to Google and somebody will have the answer out there. So I strongly recommend that option as well. Well, as I said, the sdccd.instructure.com is the Canvas URL for us. And the login page is very simple. You will log in with your 10-digit PeopleSoft Impl ID, your new employer ID, employee ID. Most of you should, I'm sure, have that by now for one reason or another. Starting in March, April, we will be putting everyone into the system, all faculty, all students into Canvas. We haven't done that yet because they're still working out the integration between PeopleSoft and Canvas. But you can get an account on Canvas anytime just for the asking. All you have to do is go to send an email to our support email at Online Learning Pathways. I'm putting that in the chat tool. It's support@sdccdonline.net. If you do just support at sdccd.edu, they're not going to know what Canvas is. That is the, whoop, that didn't come out right. Do that again. That's more like it. And ask for an account. They'll be happy to provide you with one. And they will be more than happy to make you a development shell for one shell for each of the courses that you normally teach, so that you can begin developing your Canvas course right away, like today, since you're going to know how to at least start loading content into it by 4 o'clock. So I encourage you, if you haven't already done that, to go ahead and get an account, get some shells, and start playing with it. It's up and running and ready for you to use it. I'm going to log in with a different ID because I was one of the first users in the system. So we were doing things more informally then. But it's just a standard login screen like you've seen a jillion times before. And when you first enter Canvas, you see this dashboard. This is functionally equivalent to your My Courses list in Blackboard. Each of the courses that you're either teaching or taking will appear as a colored tile on the dashboard. You can put little images inside the tiles if you like to customize your course. But all you have to do to access one of these courses is just click on its tile. We'll do that in a minute. I'll just mention this system menu over here on the left that will always be visible whenever you're logged into Canvas, which is not part of any particular course. It's always there. This is where the account tool is where you log out. That's what you may need to know. It's also where you do things like set your password and so on. We have tutorials for all that. There's the dashboard. You have a courses list, which is text-based, basically the same information. You have a nice calendar. I'm not going to spend time on here today, but it is a very good event calendar, and due dates and things like that will show up in here for students. You have a marvelous communications tool. It's a combination of the course messaging tool and the external email tool in Blackboard. It's got all the best features of both and almost none of the devices. You can send messages here to your students or either in bulk or individually. It will appear in their inboxes in Canvas, but it will also go to their personal email inboxes. And they can reply to you seamlessly without having to go through a bunch of hoops and so on. It's a marvelous communication tool. But what I'm really interested in on this menu right now, for our purposes, is the help link. This will only get more extensive as time goes along. We are going to have 24/7 phone support for both faculty and students, but that will not start till sometime in March or April. So what you really, the real value in this help menu right now is the link that sends you to the Canvas guides. These are unbelievably encyclopedic. It's far more and better information online than Blackboard ever had. The Canvas guides, and there's also some other interesting stuff here, but the Canvas guides are the primary destination there. We have guides for all of the common roles: instructors, students, administrators, and observers. So you have your own set of guides, and this just goes on for pages. It's subject, arranged by subject, There's almost nothing you might want to do in Canvas that's not going to have some information here. Don't have time to scroll all the way to the bottom, so there's lots of information here. And our own Canvas tutorials are down here at the bottom. We've been making these for a while. They're on our Open On Demand site at sdccdolvid.org. You can also access this from a tab in the Blackboard interface, and obviously from this, from that link in the Canvas help screen, so you don't need that URL. And here are some of our Canvas tutorials we've been creating. We're mainly trying to do things like produce tutorials that are localized to our system, so that have information that is specific to our system. And this is also where you'll see these, our recordings of these classes pop up.
Where was that link again?
It is in the Canvas help list at the bottom, SDCCD
Okay.
Canvas tutorials.
Okay.
Good question. Please don't hesitate to speak up like that when you get a question like that. Now is the time to deal with it. I'm very happy to hear questions because it at least lets me know I'm not the only one awake. Oh, it is after lunch. Hopefully I'll stay awake. Very well. So let's go back to the dashboard here.
Quick
And I've
question.
prepared. Yes, please.
Under account, under settings, I see that there are other services like a Google Drive, Skype.
Yes.
LinkedIn. So can you I have a Google Drive for my class. Can I link that to?
Oh boy, can you. You can embed your Google, and you can do that. You can embed your Google documents into pages in Canvas and share them with your students.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a nice integration with Google Drive. Very good. We spent some time with that on the content creation course, which I have a recording of, which will go up. I think it made it up to YouTube last night, so it's almost ready to put into the on-campus or on-demand site. Very well. So I have made us a course today. I'm getting enough of them that it's a little, that's it. It's the purple one, of course. So to enter a course, you just click on its tile. And what we have here is a blank Canvas course. This is what you all are going to receive. Unlike Blackboard, where we put a little home page in, we had a template with a little bit of information in. We don't have a good way to do that in Canvas right now, and besides which, that was always an argument or a question whether it did more harm than good. So we're going to be providing with absolutely blank Canvas shells. The first time you put your content in, then you're going to be starting from scratch. Once you have created either a development shell or your first live shell for a particular course, you'll be able to copy the content forward as you do in Blackboard now. You'll never have to do that again. But this is what you'll see when you get that first shell, either a development shell or a live shell. They'll look just alike. Just a couple of things about the interface here. There we go. We do have a course menu down the left-hand side, very similar to what you have in Blackboard. Some of the many of the entries are even identical to the ones in Blackboard, and for the most part, they operate more or less the same way. You will find that the Canvas course menu is a little bit less flexible in terms of customization than the Blackboard one is. They did that deliberately so that one Canvas course would look much more like another Canvas course than can be the case in Blackboard. And this is something that students love. Indeed, these are the things that you can have in the Canvas course menu, with one or two others that are not in there right now that aren't activated, but by and large, this is pretty much what a Canvas course menu is going to look like. The only things you can add to that are links to external websites, external resources. And you can do that. Though that's not something that you're going to see a whole lot of reason for in most cases. We also have over here on the right, typically, on certain pages, a task menu, which allows us to do a number of things depending on where we are, including access the student view. The student view in Canvas is much easier to access than that in Blackboard. You just click on that button, and within just a couple of seconds, you see the course as your students do, reliably, as near as we can tell. So it's very easy to decide to gauge what your students are seeing, which is sometimes a little different than what you see, of course. And if you look down in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or if you look down at the bottom of the screen, there's a purple bar, and there are two buttons in there. One says Leave Student View, and that'll get you back to your view of it very quickly. So, and then we have this center content frames, quite similar to what you have in Blackboard. This is where your actual content is going to appear. And right now we have two big icons. One says create a new module, and the other says import existing content. We're going to do both of those today. Indeed, there are two options really in building your course in Canvas. One would be to build it from scratch and create, you upload your content fresh, organize it in Canvas, and get it ready to go. There are certain advantages to this. It gives you a chance to reevaluate your course design and to refresh everything. Perhaps you've been using the same course for a while and it could use for a redesign. On the other hand, you may have been using Blackboard for a while and have a shell over there for a particular course that you have organized just the way you want it. You spend a lot of time working on it, a lot of time thinking of it. That's how you want to do it. And as closely as possible, you want to be able to do the same thing in Canvas. So you'd like to just bring that content over into Canvas in one lump and start from there. And you can certainly do that as well. And I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. And it's not an overly onerous process, given the fact that we've got basically an hour and a half left, and I expect to get through that. So we'll hope for that. But I'm going to start off by showing you how to upload content from scratch. Simply because even if you bring your Blackboard course over, you're certainly going to have to add content to it from time to time. You're going to want to be able to do that. And that's what this icon does, the one that says create a new module. I'll just say something about the word module here, because that's pretty telling in terms of the design philosophies behind Canvas. The gold standard in online course design is called modular design, where and Blackboard provides marvelous tools to allow you to do that. Learning modules, content folders that can be nested one within the other within the other. But Blackboard will also just let you not do that and just have your PowerPoint presentations in one menu item and your lecture notes in another, and so on down the way, and no other organization. Canvas is going to make that difficult. It's going to try to force you into modular design. And what I mean by modular design is that all of the links, all the resources that a student needs for a particular subdivision of your course should be accessible in the same place, in the same module, if you will, within the course. And those modules can contain to the, will normally correspond to the major subdivisions of your course, depending on how you organize it, whether you organize your course by week, week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on, or by topic, introduction, topic 1, topic 2, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, however you like to organize your course material. Canvas will allow you to create a module for each of the major subdivisions of your course. And then within that module, you can place links to everything the student needs. Content documents, be they Word documents, PDFs, web pages, Canvas pages, talk about those in a minute. Links to assignments, to discussion forums, to tests. Anything that the student might need to do in order to satisfy the requirements for a particular subdivision in your course can be put into that one module. And then when they finish that, they go to the next module, which covers the next major subdivision of your course, week 2 or chapter 2 or whatever, and then just work their way through. And they work their way from the first module to the last, and they're done. And while they're inside of a particular module, so you can't have modules nested within modules, but once they're inside that major module, a major subdivision, they shouldn't have to go outside and go to the course menu over here on the left, or look around in the course, go into other modules to find anything. Everything they need should be within that particular module. And Canvas's means for displaying content to students, its so-called modules tool, is built to encourage that. So what this big icon here is going to do to us is take us to the modules tool and allow us to create our first module. And the first thing you'll be asked for is a module name. And you can call it anything you want. Module 1, introduction. I can call it Fred if I wanted to. But in this case, I'm just going to call it welcome, since that's how I've built this course. On almost all content items, modules, and items within modules in Canvas, you can determine whether or not students can see it, and you can determine when they can see it automatically by just selecting lock, and you get a calendar and a clock, and you can set, like if you don't want the students to get in until the 28th, you can set that and it'll automatically appear for them on the 28th. Same thing you can do in Blackboard, but it's a lot more intuitive here, I think. Indeed, in general, the Canvas interface is a great deal more intuitive than that in Blackboard. Almost always, when you want to do something in Canvas, if you're on the page where you need to be, the way to proceed forward will almost certainly be obvious if you just read the screen. We'll test that here in a little while. And there are exceptions to that, of course. But in general, that's true with Canvas. So I'll add the module. That's hard to miss. They use color for highlighting very effectively in the interface. And that takes me to the modules tool. It's not much to look at yet because we've only got the one module and there's nothing in that module, but this is the modules tool. You can also access that at any time from the modules link over here in the course menu, as can the students. And that takes you to the same place. So I've got an empty module. Now I'm going to fill it with stuff. This is how we'll add content to Canvas. Where you had content areas in Blackboard, like the home page, where you could put links to content. Here we have modules, but they serve the same purpose. So, all right, there's my first module. If I want to, well, first let me ask, let's test that intuitive interface. If I wanted to make another module, what would I do from this page?
plus right corner module.
Yeah, plus module. Hard to miss. Now, if I want to add content to this module, what am I going to use?
Plus.
Add. Right, the plus sign. Plus, add. So I just click that plus sign, and I get a box that you will see over and over and over again in Canvas where it says add item to, and then the name of the module that you're in. The word item here just means anything. A link to a file, a web page, either internal or external to Canvas, a link to a test, a PDF file, anything like that, an assignment, a discussion forum, etc. You can link anything into a module using this dialog box here. The key to it is this menu here. You just open that menu, hitting that down caret, and these are all the items, quote unquote, that you can add to this module. By the way, the word item in Canvas does not mean what it means in Blackboard. A Blackboard item is a little web page that can contain text, graphics, embedded video, things like that. In Canvas, we call that a page. So an item here just means an assignment, a quiz, a file, a page, talk more about pages, discussions, a text header to make your list of modules a little more explanatory. That's something you may never use. An external URL is just a web link, like the one in Blackboard. And external tools can be things like MyLab or whatever. So I just pick what I want to add, and we're going to start off kind of with the low-hanging fruit and add some files, since you may often have everything from your syllabus to your lecture notes to instructions for an essay and things like that in Word documents or PDF documents, whatever. And I can then decide, or I can then tell Canvas I want to upload a new file. If I had files, by the way, that I'd already uploaded to Canvas, they would be listed below the words new file here. But right now we're in a blank course, so I'll just start with a new file and I just click on it. And then the interface becomes perfectly intuitive again. I'm going to choose the file I want to upload. And it's going to open an upload box. The Windows Explorer on Windows or the Finder on a Mac. And let me find, there we go, I have a folder that has some files that I've been using for this training. And I think I'll start with a little PDF document that I created in Word and saved as a PDF. And so I just select the document I want to load and click open. And Canvas now knows where that document is. Generally, you're just going to leave these items alone. Course files is almost always where you want your documents to appear. You may have folders underneath course files, in which case they're where you want it to appear, but it doesn't really matter where you store the document in your file manager so much as where the link to it is in your modules. And we've already solved that problem by starting off in the welcome module here. So I'll just add the item. And there it is. There's our first bit of content loaded into Canvas. Takes a whole lot less time to do it than it does to talk about it. Your students will see it pretty much this way, assuming that it's published. Notice the little green check mark over here. It's very hard to miss in Canvas whether something is visible to students or not. If there's a green check mark next to it, probably it is, though this one is not yet. The reason being that the module itself has not yet been published, but I can take care of that with a mouse click. It's a lot quicker and a lot harder to miss than in Blackboard. So it's much harder to accidentally hide content from your students that you didn't mean to, or vice versa. So now the students would see this just this way. And if they want to see what in that file, they can just click on the name of it. And since that was a PDF, Canvas will actually open it in a viewer inside Canvas, which is pretty cool. This is a very simple one, of course, but they can be much more complex and much longer. If this were a Word document, for instance, Canvas would not be able to display it. In the Canvas interface, it would be downloaded to the student's computer. Thereupon the web browser would automatically start up either Microsoft Word or some other viewer that will open my Word documents, and then the student would see the document. That can take some time, and if there's a problem on the student's computer with their Word installation or something like that, it can be problematic. One of the reasons that things like PDFs and Canvas pages are very nice forms of content, they show up sooner to the students, and there's less likelihood that the student might not be able to see them. However little likelihood there is of that with a Word document. Okay, so there's that. I can get back to the modules tool just by clicking on it. You'll note that the modules tool is now highlighted rather than grayed out. That's as it was before. That's just an indication that there's content in there that the students can see. So I'll go back to modules.
Dave?
Yes, sir.
Is that also true for Google Docs file? It's going to put it in a different page and open it up that way, or?
Yeah, you can just put a link to it. Indeed.
So
that would be a web link, an external URL, and you would access the Google Doc by its URL.
Okay. So what is a native format in which it actually doesn't take you out of that page, but actually displays it? Is it just a PDF?
Well, PDF acts that way because Canvas has a PDF viewer built into it, but the actual native format for Canvas content is the Canvas page.
Okay.
Which we're going to look at some here in a little bit. And that was one of the things that I could create.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can paste content into a Canvas page from Word. It's a lot safer than in Blackboard, or other sources. And that option was right here. And I'm gonna take that up in the context of creating a home page for this course in a few minutes. But yes, that's the page is basically a web page. It's basically a Blackboard item with one important improvement. And Blackboard items, for instance, that you have in your current Blackboard courses will come over into Canvas as pages. The bulk of the content will be in the form of pages.
Okay.
So good questions. Okie dokie. So that's all there is to adding a link to a file, to uploading the file to Canvas and adding a link to it in your module. That file is now in your file manager, which is under files over here. This is analogous to the content collection in Blackboard, except it's a lot simpler and just as powerful. There it is. Here's your list of files. I've uploaded one file. I can do things like download it, rename it, move it to another folder, delete it if I don't need it anymore, and share it to Commons, which is a learning objects repository that comes with Canvas, where you can share stuff with your colleagues all around the state, if you so desire. So there's our first file. Let's just do that again, just nothing like repetition to make it a little more comfortable. We'll hit the plus sign, we'll add another file, a new file. There's welcome PDF that I just added. I'll choose the file. Maybe this was a little informational document on how it was needed to complete assignments in a particular course. The course I'm going to use as an example today when we do an import. And you just add the item. Same thing. That one happens to be a web page, actual web page. And since Canvas is basically a web server, it just displays it here. Oops. Sorry about the broken image link. I got to fix that one these days. That sort of thing is not too uncommon, unfortunately, when you import content from one system to another. This came out of Blackboard. Now it's going into Canvas. I can go back to the modules tool and do that one more time. I'll add maybe this time a file, since we're talking about course content, and I'm going to deal with pages in another way. I'll go ahead and just add this time a new file, and this one, what's probably the first file you're going to upload to your course?
Syllabus.
The syllabus. There's a syllabus. Your syllabus can be in any of the usual formats, Word document, PDF, web page, anything that the students can reliably open. I just open that and add it. I just bang, 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 bang. I can add content here very quickly, very efficiently. So building a course like this from scratch is not going to take that long, especially once you build things like your quizzes, your tests, and your homework assignments, which you can do from right here. You can build a homework assignment right from the modules tool by just saying assignment, new assignment, give it a name. I'm not feeling terribly original today. And then just click on the link to the assignment, and it takes you to a screen where you can add your assignment instructions, say when it's due, give it a point value, etc. And to do all of that, what would I do on this page? Where would I click to get started with that?
Sorry, I was working on my course.
Edit. Yeah, you just edit the assignment, and you get an assignment creation screen. It's quite similar to the one in Blackboard. You put your instructions here in the content editor. By the way, this content editor in Canvas is much less problematic than the one in Blackboard, and even more powerful. I go through that in some detail in the content creation class. We'll see a little bit of it here today too. And everything you need, dates, submission types, whether you want them to, maybe you're going to turn it in on paper. Maybe you're going to turn it in on paper in an on-campus class, or an online submission or an external tool. And if you select online submission, you get the option of providing them with text entry, just a text box, and or them providing a website URL or a media recording or a file upload. Or you can give them all those options. And so it's very intuitive. And we will have information on how to do those as well online and cover them in classes. Well, that's kind of not the focus of this course, but I just wanted to show you how basic, simple it is to add new content from scratch to a Canvas module. Remember, the modules tool is where you're going to work the vast majority of the time when you're creating course content and linking in course content. So we've got a welcome module ready to go. And except for that last item, it's visible to students. Now that's visible too. So that was ready to go. I'm sure I could add more to it, but that'll do for now. And you just keep that up. Now you go to the first subdivision of your course, week 1, say, and you make a week 1 module and you start adding your lecture notes and your assignments, your discussion forums and all that in there. And you can have a course built in a few hours if you have it laid out in your mind or on paper. It's not difficult to build a course from scratch in Canvas. especially once you have a feel for this modules tool. But as I say, the chances are pretty good that most of you have some content in Blackboard that you like just fine, and you at least like to have over here as a starting point. And that turns out to be quite easy to do too. But before I get, and that's the next thing we're going to look at, but let me take a look at the chat tool here and see if I've got anything pending in there that I've shot right past. Let's see. No, doesn't look like it. So let me get back here. And let's import a course from Blackboard. I'm going to go to Blackboard here and get logged in. And I think I had that set up somewhere else. Just a second. No. Oh, those are the guides. That's right. Get those out of the way. There's Blackboard. And I'll log in. And I'm going to pick a course in Blackboard that I've been using as an example. This is an old Flex course that I used to teach on screencasting. And I picked it because it's a fairly small course, so it doesn't take forever for things to upload. And while it's fairly simple in construction, it contains most of the elements that you're going to find in an average Blackboard course. Blackboard items like this first thing here. This is a Blackboard item. Blackboard content folders. It contains learning modules. And the learning modules contain content of all sorts, assignments, links to discussion forums, etc. are all there. So this is a pretty good example course that we can get through in a reasonable period of time that will show you how to bring your material over. But first, the thing I need to show you, make sure you know how to do in your Blackboard course, is how to produce an export, a content export package of your Blackboard course and get that downloaded to your home computer. You do that in the Blackboard course in the control panel under Packages and Utilities, Export Archive Course. And you have two buttons, two options here, Export a Package or Archive Course. We don't want an archive because an archive contains student data, and that won't come across. But if you just want the course content, you want to hit Export Package. You're given a screen where you're going to want to leave these defaults alone. You might want to calculate the size of the course by just clicking that button. If that comes up at or near 500 megabytes, you may have a problem because your Canvas courses can't be bigger than 500 megabytes, and a course larger than that will not transfer. So we need to help you slim your course down. There's no real reason for a course, an online course, to be more than 500 megabytes in size. And we can help you get rid of content that you don't need anymore, that's maybe built up over the years as you've copied the course repeatedly, or content that is like video and things like that that really needs to be somewhere else and not in the LMS itself. We can help you with that as well. That support at sdccdonline.net will get you to the online learning instructional designers at Online Learning Pathways, and they'll be happy to help with that. I'll be happy to help with that as long as they keep me around. Basically, it involves going into your content collection in Blackboard and deleting files that you no longer need or that can be put somewhere else. And we'll help you with that. What you've got to do here is select what to transfer. And I strongly recommend that you transfer everything and throw away what you don't need when you get it over into Canvas. That works a lot better by experience. So you can just select all, everything gets checked that needs to be. And let's see, let me get this out of my way. When you get to the bottom, you just click Submit. I'm not going to do that because I've done this several times. I've got several exports of this course. I don't need to make another one. So I'm just going to cancel out, but you would hit Submit. And the export file will then, after a few minutes or so, depending on the size of the course, will appear in this list in the export tool, looking like this. It'll be a zip file, which you're just going to download to your home computer or your office computer. One caution for those of you using Macs, Fred,
Yeah.
is you want to make sure that when this zip file is downloaded, it doesn't get automatically unzipped.
Okay.
Because if it does, it destroys it. You can't zip it back up and use it.
It has to be within the zip format.
It has to come down as a zip file and be present on your hard drive as a compressed zip. Can't be uncompressed. And there's a setting in the system settings on the Mac under Safari that it says something like automatically open trusted file types.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to say no, because part of the implication of that is that it will unzip zip files automatically, which will wreak havoc with this. Well, you just have to make a new export, but you just have to download it again. It won't hurt the export file on Blackboard, but you will have to download it again. If you have any trouble with that, I can help, and we do have a tutorial on our on-demand site about that. That's a problem we've had for years.
Okay.
And Apple's never changed that default to my knowledge. But anyway, you mouse over the name of the file here, and you click the action link, the down caret. And to download it, you select Open. I know that should say Download. If this were Canvas, it would say Download. In Blackboard, it says Open. Whatever. Click Open, and it downloads it. It asks you where you want to store it. Let me get I've got a bar on my screen that you can't see that I have to move around every now and then. I'm doing this on my laptop. I normally have 3 screens to work with, so I'm a little constrained. Forgive me if I get a little constrained there. And here are these are 2 identical files that I downloaded some time ago to my hard drive on this machine. So I'm not going to save another one. But all I would have to do at this point is hit save, pick where I want to put it, and then hit save, and that file will download to my hard drive. It can take some time if your course is up in getting close to 500 megabytes, or it can happen almost instantly, as it would here. So I'm just going to cancel out of that too, and I'm done with Blackboard.
Quick question.
Yes, Fred.
I just did it for one of my course, and when I click on that chevron at the end, it says Open, View Basic Log, View Detailed Log, and Delete.
Right. You want to open.
I want to open?
Yeah, it's not actually going to open it. That's why.
Okay, I see.
It's going to download it.
I got it.
And why that doesn't say download is your guess is as good as mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I could figure that out. And we're done as far as this course is concerned with Blackboard. Mm-hmm. Someday I'm just going to be able to say that unequivocally. Blackboard's been a part of my life since the year 2000. I can't wait. Okay, so now I'm back in Canvas, and I'm in our little course that we were working in. And I want to pull that content that I've just exported from Blackboard into Canvas. No problem. To do that, I go to the Settings screen, the last link in your course menu. Your students won't see that. or at least they won't see what you're going to see when they click on it. And you have a number of tabs here in this settings screen that provide different information. Course details screen is kind of like the course information screen in Blackboard. You can edit the course name. You can put an image in to have it appear in the little tile on the dashboard. You set time zones and things like that. By the way, I'm still in the Pacific time zone up here. Northern Idaho is. Southern Idaho is in Mountain Time. Go figure.
You're in the Panhandle.
Start and end dates will be set automatically for you and so on. But you got this setting screen I'm not really that interested in right now. But over here on the right-hand side, we have this task menu. And one of those options, don't ever use delete the course, please. One of those options is import course content. And that will be visible to you. And that's what we need now. Fairly intuitive. And it's a very, as most Canvas screens are, it's as simple as they can make it. And they don't throw all the information at you at one time, so you can concentrate on one thing at a time in most cases. So the only thing you have to do first is to decide what type of import content to import. And here are your options. This is how, for instance, when you get a blank shell 2 or 3 semesters down the line, you already have your Canvas shell from the previous semester, you want to move the content over, this is how you'll do it. You can copy an existing Canvas course, or you can import an export package that you brought over from another system. Say you taught at Southwestern, and you have a course on a Canvas course on their system that you'd like to bring over here. You can just export it there and import it into our system, and it'll run all Canvas systems. Since Canvas is a hosted resource, nobody has their own Canvas system. It's all hosted by Canvas on Amazon Web Services. Everybody's got the same version of the software, the same basic options and so on, so there's not a lot of incompatibility between systems. And you can also pull a bunch of stuff. But what we're doing is moving content from Blackboard. So it's going to be one of these 2 options. And indeed, it's going to be the first one, the Blackboard 6, 7, 8, 9 export. Blackboard Vista, I know Fred remembers Blackboard Vista, the old WebCT. We haven't had that for 7 years. I have to wonder if anybody's still using that in the world. I guess they are. But this is the current Blackboard and several generations back. So we just select that. Then there's that choose file button again. We've seen that before. We just choose it. It opens up a file open dialog box in Windows or the Finder on the Mac, and you just search around for where you downloaded that export file to. This I happen to have been in that folder already, so it just popped right up. It may not always be that simple. You may have to look over here for it, but you'll know where you put it. Unless you're my age, then you may have to go back and export it again and write it down this time. But I have confidence that you'll find it eventually. Even I did. And you just select the file you want to import and click open. The only other thing you have to do here is tell it what content you want out of that export. Either all of that content or you want to select specific content. I strongly recommend selecting all content. Keep it simple. We've tried it the other way, and there are lots of pitfalls. So you can always throw away anything you don't want later. It's very easy to do in Canvas. Okay, so I've told it I'm importing a course from Blackboard, told it where the export file is, I've told it I want everything, and now I just hit import. This can take anywhere from a few seconds to no time at all, or a few seconds to a few hours. Well, I've never seen it take more than an hour. This course is fairly small, so it's not going to take very long at all, but you get a little progress meter. And when it's completed, it'll tell you. In the meantime, you can just leave this window open. Don't navigate away from this window while it's downloading. But you can just minimize that window and go on and do something else on the computer. You could even start up another web browser and log into Canvas from another web browser and continue to work in Canvas while this was happening. But we don't have to do that. It's telling me it's had one issue. You'll usually have at least some issues, import issues, but they will almost always be minor and unimportant. In this case, there was a link that didn't come over that was in an announcement. I could care less, so I'm not going to even worry about that. And that'll be the case in most cases. So that's all there is to importing your Blackboard content into Canvas. Well, it's not quite all there is. It's in there, but it's not quite in a usable form yet. It's not far off, but it's a little. The two systems have different design philosophies, and the way they handle content and the way they organize content's just enough different that we're going to have to clean this course up before we can actually use it. And we've got 48 minutes left to do that in this session, and I will tell you we'll be done way before that. This typically takes half hour to an hour. If first time you've done it, we're going to beat that by a bunch. So the first thing you need to know is where to go look for your content. I mean, nothing's happened here. And the place you're going to go to look where your content has been dumped is, of course, into the file manager, but that's not going to be especially useful. Where you want to go is the modules tool, where we were before, or the home button, which right now is synonymous. The home button is pointing to the modules tool right now. I'll show you how to change that later, but either way, home or modules will take us to the modules tool right now, the modules area in Canvas. And here we are. And there's our little welcome module that we made before. Of course, when you import material into Canvas, it's done in an additive manner. That is, it will not delete the stuff that was already there or overwrite it. It will just add to it. So below this is the stuff that came over from Blackboard. And there's a syllabus. Looks like my contact information. And then we get down here, it begins to look more and more like a course, but it's obviously not exactly like what was in Blackboard. So we're going to need to clean this up a little bit. And to do that, it's going to help to look back and forth between this course, between the Canvas course now and the Blackboard course. So let's go back and look at that Blackboard course. Look at the opening page. Okay, and this is something most of you have seen many, many times. In our course homepage on Blackboard, entitled Course Content in this case, could have been course homepage. We have a little Blackboard item entitled Welcome. An item being just a little web page that has text and graphics and maybe a few other things in it. Then we have another item entitled Welcome to Introduction to Screencasting, and it's got an embedded video in it. Then we have a link to the syllabus and a couple of content modules entitled Learning Modules and Screencasting Resources. Just wanted to remind you of what that looked like. So we got course content, then welcome to Introduction to Screencasting, and the two content modules. Let's go back and look at the Canvas course and see how that corresponds. Well, there's course content. So that course content in Blackboard was the so-called content area, which are the structures into which you put content in Blackboard. That's analogous to a module in Canvas. And indeed, the course content, we now have a module in Canvas, just like the welcome module, at the same level as the welcome module, at the top level, labeled course content. But there's only two things in it. We had a lot more than that on that course content page. So let's see if we can figure that out, where it went. First off, we have a little item, a little welcome item. And that's just the word welcome, the online learning pathways logo, and the title of the course. Well, that's what was right here in Blackboard. Okay, fine. That's there. It doesn't appear expanded, or you don't actually see the content of it in the modules tool. What you see is a link to it. That's just the way Canvas works. Don't worry about that for now. I know this interface here, the modules interface, looks a little Spartan. It's exceptionally functional, but it's a little Spartan, a little unfancy, but that's not a problem. I'll show you why a little later on. But we also have that welcome to introduction screencasting. That was a Blackboard item. Here it's a Canvas page, by the way. This lit up here on the sign tells you that. I think I mentioned that Blackboard items came over as Canvas pages. They're basically the same thing, just content pages. And this one has some text and an embedded video. Fine, those look useful. So let's go back to the modules tool. And that's fine, but I sort of already made a welcome module here. I could just continue working with the course content module and move stuff and add stuff to it and move stuff into it at need, but I already have this welcome module. I like that. So I think this welcome item here is very much like that little welcome PDF I uploaded before. Okay, so I probably don't need both of them. I can just get rid of one of them. To delete an item from a module, I don't have a minus sign. That would be a little too easy. But I do have this little menu icon over here. 3 dots and a vertical line. A notation popularized by Chrome, like up here at the top. But it always, I'll just call that the menu icon. If that were 3 dots in a horizontal row, everybody know what it would be called? That one I do know. That's an ellipsis. Ellipsis. I've been asking people, everybody I can think of, well, what are 3 dots in a vertical row called? Menu icon doesn't really sound cool. I don't know. Nobody's been able to. The closest anybody gave me was vertical ellipsis. I didn't buy that. Maybe that's what they call it. I don't know. But that's a menu item. My main goal in blathering about it like that is to make sure you remember that. And if you click on that, you get a menu. It's like the context menus in Blackboard, where you click on the action link and a menu comes up. This is sort of like an action link. And of course, oops, I got the wrong one because I don't want to delete the whole module, at least not yet. But if I want to delete this welcome item here, because I don't need it because I already have one, a better one up here, I just click the menu tool on that line and select delete. Remove, I'm sorry, not delete, but remove. Remove removes the link from the module. It does not remove the file from the file manager. So I could always go back and get it later if I change my mind. It asks me, am I sure? I say, okay, and it's gone. The link is gone. This, on the other hand, with the embedded video is probably useful. So I'm going to go back, and I'm just going to move that up into my welcome module. And you're going to love how easy it is to move items and modules around in the modules tool. This another icon I don't know the name of, this movement tool with two rows of 4 vertical dots is the movement tool in Canvas. If you just mouse over it, your mouse cursor turns into a 4-headed arrow. You click, a left click on a PC mouse, and drag and put it wherever you want in another module. And if you want to move stuff around within a module, it's just as easy. There's nothing to it. And this works so much more smoothly and so much more reliably than the same tool in Blackboard does.
Can you do a bulk move? Like
I can move an entire module at one time.
Okay. But like several...
I can't select several and move them at one time.
Okay.
To my knowledge. Now, suddenly I have this course content module, but it's empty. I don't need it anymore. So I can just delete the whole module as well. And now I'm on my way to cleaning this up. Next thing I see in the Canvas course is a module named Screencasting Resources, and it's got a bunch of web links. These are external URLs or web links. I know by the little icon there. There's quite a few of them. Well, let's go back and see where that was in the Blackboard course. Well, we've already dealt with these two. Here's the Screencasting Resources link, and it was a content folder in Blackboard. And content folders in Blackboard will come over as modules in Canvas, which is what we've seen. So I click on that module just to make sure, or that content folder rather, to see what's inside it, and indeed it's a bunch of web links. Different icon, but the same idea. Links to content out on the web somewhere about screencasting. And this was but this was at the bottom of the course content page. It was designed as kind of an additional readings or additional reference resource. It's not something I want right up top dead center in my modules in Canvas. I'd like it at the bottom of all these modules. So I could just manually drag it down, drag the whole module down at one time, and that'll work, but it's kind of awkward. So I'm going to, instead of doing that, I'm going to use some more dramatic movement tools that I can get in my menu icon over here for the module as a whole. There's a Move Module tool. I just select that, and it asks me where I want to move it to. Do I move it to the top, before another module, after another module, or all the way to the bottom? In this case, I want it all the way at the bottom. So I just select that and click Move, and bada bing, Screencasting Resources is now all the way down at the bottom of my modules list in my modules tool in Canvas. That's where I wanted it, so good. That's taken care of. So let's look next here. There's a module called Syllabus, and that looks like a syllabus. I think it is. Let's click on it and see. Yep, that's the syllabus. It's not much of a syllabus, but it wasn't much of a course. What can I tell you? So we'll go back to the modules tool to keep working. And let's go look at Blackboard to see where that came from. Well, there was a syllabus content area in the Blackboard menu, and in that, that contained the syllabus. Fairly obvious thing. So I can go back to, I can leave it like that here. That's what I have here. I might rename content.syllabus.label to just edit it and just call it syllabus. Huh? And update that. But, you know, that syllabus is kind of something I might like in a welcome module. So I don't have to keep this separate syllabus module if I don't want it. Or I can, if you want to add more stuff to it, like a course schedule and a contract or something like that, you certainly could just leave this as it was. But I'm going to move this up into the welcome thing. In fact, I already had that syllabus in there. Forgot about that. I'll just get rid of one of them. Don't need them both. I believe it was the same file. Okay, so there, now I've got another empty module I can just get rid of. I can delete the modules. I only remove the links to the files and the assignments and things like that. Information. Next, that was also a content area in Blackboard, and it contained my contact information. It was actually an information tool that contained, oh, it was a content area. Then I just put my picture and my contact information in there. That should be over here in Canvas. Yep, same stuff. It's amazing how 90+% of the content that was in Blackboard just comes over into Canvas in a usable form, and it's fine. Sometimes you can spiff it up a little bit appearance-wise, but basically it comes over in a working state. And this is not just true with simple content like this. That's also generally true with homework assignments, discussion forums, tests and quizzes. All of those things generally come right across, and they drop into Canvas in a usable form.
I have a question.
Yes.
I just imported my course, and a lot of my information links to my web page, like the syllabus. That way I can just change my web page, and then it uploads to Blackboard. Well, I just did that for Canvas. And when I open up the syllabus, it says you are trying to launch insecure content from within a secure site, Canvas.
Right.
My browser may prevent this content from loading.
Yeah, let me see if I can show you what Fred is talking about here. I think I've got some, quote, insecure content, unquote, in one of these. I think this might be it. Yeah. Is this what you're saying?
Yeah, but there's no content like what you have there.
Well, there's probably a little link here.
Okay.
What this means is that this content is not encrypted. That's true in this case because this content is stored on our video server, which we deliberately don't encrypt because that impedes video performance. But everybody's gotten so concerned about unencrypted content that you will get this message sometimes. You can still click on this link and bring up the content.
Yeah, I just realized that.
Yeah, but it's a pain. It is a pain, and for that reason, we tend to want to keep content, as much content as we can, inside Canvas or on sites like YouTube, which are encrypted and have the horsepower to drive even video, encrypted video.
When I edit that link, it gives me an option of load in a new tab. Will that work?
I'd have to look. I'd have to go over that with you individually, probably, to troubleshoot that, because I don't think I have an example of that here. And I'm one of the things I'll be doing a lot of as we move forward in spring term is setting up individual appointments with faculty one-on-one through Zoom to help them transfer their content and clean it up. And I'd love to do that with you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so let's see, back to the modules tool. Here's this information module I probably don't need. I can just put this up here in the welcome module, and I can remove that module as well. Or I could keep it if I wanted to. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It just depends on your preference and your situation. That gets me, and now I've got everything that I needed in this welcome module so far. And then I get to a module in Canvas entitled Learning Modules. And if I go back to the Blackboard course, that was a content area in Blackboard that contained my learning modules, my actual course content. And there they are. And this little before you get started item. But the only thing that I have in this learning modules module in Canvas, or a module entitled Learning Modules, is this before you get started item. And that looks like something else I could probably put in the welcome item. And I can get rid of this because this doesn't actually contain my modular course content. It just, all it ended up with was that one little item. So I'm going to delete that one. And then I get a Canvas module entitled Why Screencasting. If I go back and look at the Blackboard course, that was my first learning module, my first content module in Blackboard, which contained an item, a little bit of just some lecture note type material, a link to a video, and a link to a discussion forum. If I go back here, that's what I have here. I don't have to click on this. Well, modules can be either expanded or contracted, but the default is to have them expanded so that you can see their content. And this content here is exactly the content that was in my Why Screencasting learning module in Blackboard. So that learning module has come over as a Canvas module. And that's what will happen with your learning module and with your content folders. They will become modules in Canvas. And the content is there. And it's entirely functional. Even the graded discussion is exactly what it was in Blackboard. It's ready to go. And if I edit it, most of the settings in the, like whether it's graded or not and so on, that were in Blackboard will come over into Canvas. There may be some differences because the available settings are not exactly the same in the two, but the chances are better than 80% that the module will be ready to use with minimal, if any, cleaning up. And if I go back to my modules here in Canvas, I don't want to edit that. There they are. And they are, just as was the case with this first one, they are intact, just as with the same links in the modules and in the same order, just as they were in Blackboard. So aside from having to clean up a little bit of that stuff about Blackboard items up front in my home page in from the Blackboard course, everything just came over in a functional form, ready to use. Indeed, what we see right here is a perfectly functional Canvas course. And some faculty just leave it looking just like this. It's, as I say, it's a little Spartan looking, but it's entirely functional. It's ready to go, and it's organized beautifully so that the students know where to start, where to go next every time. So you could, at this point, just say, I'm done. I would strongly recommend that you check your homework assignments and your quizzes. There are some minor differences between the two systems that might cause some problems. Check them, make sure everything's in a functional condition, but 90% plus chance they will be. With tests, there are a few differences in question types between the two systems, though the basic commonly used question types like multiple choice, matching, true, false, fill in the blank, and so on all work pretty much the same in both systems and will transfer from one system to the other in a functional form. There may be some problems, especially if you have some complex computational questions in Blackboard. While there are similar question types in Canvas, they're not implemented exactly the same way, so you may have to redo those, or you may have to edit them when they come over. But again, by and large, tests come over from Blackboard into Canvas in a perfectly functional form. They're ready to go, ready for the students to take as soon as you publish them and set display dates and so on. And it's not like students have to stay in this page the whole time. Like they can go to the welcome module and to the first item in the welcome module, and they can bring that up on the screen. They can view it. And then they can go back to the modules tool and go to the next one and so on, but they don't have to. You may have seen it if you look quickly. At the bottom of every item that's linked in, when you bring up an item from a module, at the bottom of the display is a button marked Next, the bottom right. And if they click on that Next button, it takes them to the next item in the module. And they can just keep going that way, and they never have to go back to the modules tool, probably until they start another session, and they have to go in and get begin again. So they really don't see that much of that modules tool. And there's on any item after the first one, there's a previous button too, so they can go back and forth to their heart's content without clicking back into the modules tool. And you can make these links, files and pages and so on as nice as you like, so that the course is attractive as well as functional. But the way things are set right now, when they first drop into the course, they see the modules tool in its full Spartan glory, or lack thereof. There's an easy way to make the opening page, the opening item, the opening content in Canvas quite a bit more salubrious looking. And that involves creating what's called a front page in Canvas. You'd probably call it a home page in Blackboard. And that's something that's probably worth doing. Enough worth doing, I'm going to show you how to do it and how to set it up. But before I do that, since we're at a milestone here, we have a functional course imported from Blackboard, and it took approximately 35 minutes. But most of that time was time I spent talking about it. It really took about 5 to 10 minutes to do that if I'd just been doing it. So it's not a difficult, or by any means impossible thing to get your course out. Now, I will say that the more modular your course is in Blackboard, the more it's arranged in learning modules or nested content folders, the easier it's going to be to get it into Canvas, because Canvas is going to enforce this modularity. So there may be some situations where it's going to be a little bit more problematic to get things into the modules that you want, but it's never going to be that difficult. So let's create a nice front page. And I'm also going to show you here, Fred, as you asked before, I'm going to show you how to create a Canvas page. This is a great way to create content right within Canvas. And indeed, is what I'd do if I were creating, rather than importing content that I'd already created in a Word file or whatever. And this is how I do it. I just create a Canvas page and then link that page into my modules. to view the pages in your course and to create new ones, you just use the Pages tool over here on the left that we've seen highlighted a few times, because many of those content items that came over from Blackboard came over as Canvas pages. And that's really Canvas's native content type. If I click that, I'll get a list of all my pages, several of them. And almost all of this came over from Blackboard, almost all of it. Yeah, I didn't have a page that I created for you earlier, so this is all from Blackboard. And so I'm going to need to create a new page for my front page or my home page here. And how am I going to start that? Let's see if that intuitive interface is still intuitive an hour and 20 or an hour and 40 minutes into the session. How am I going to make a new page here? Plus page. There it is, yeah. Big blue button with a plus sign and page. I click that and I got a chat. Good. Let me look at that chat. Just a sec. I got to see that. Zoom sometimes has a little trouble bringing up the chat tool when you're sharing your screen. Oh, there it came up just as I clicked stop share. Hit the plus. Exactly, John. Thank you. I figured one of you had said that. Just wanted to see that. All right, back to screen sharing. Here's your page creation tool. It's basically the Canvas content editor. Very similar to the content editor in Blackboard that you use to create and edit Blackboard items. And you've got the usual text formatting tools and some other neat stuff down here that I won't be able to show you all of because it's we don't quite have the time today. But it is in that content creation course that I did that I recorded the other day. First thing I have to do is give it a name. I'm just going to call this homepage. Remember, that's something I decided on. That wasn't a name of great significance. Again, I could just call it Fred if I wanted to. And let's say I might want to put in our little banner logo. I can do that. I can do that in a couple of ways. I can go to embed image here, and I can pull if I have the URL for that image somewhere on the web, I can just put that in, or I can look in Canvas in the course files, and there it is. Or I could upload a new file. Or I can go over here to the tabs on the side, and I can click on images, and I can see the image, or a thumbnail of it, as well as the name. So that's the one I want. I can just click on that, and bang, it inserts it into my content editor. Once it's there, I can do things like center it, or move it about. I have a certain limited options to move it about because what I'm creating here is a web page in HTML, hypertext markup language. And it's not quite as flexible in where you put images as, say, Microsoft Word. Though I can always create a table and put a table cell exactly where I want it and put the image inside of that. But this is not a web design class, so I'm gonna stay away from that for the moment. If you have a question about that, I'll be happy to show you. But that's perfectly fine. That's where I wanted it, centered anyway. And how about the title of the course? I can just type in. Or if it were a larger block of text, I could just paste it in from another document, from a Word document or whatever. Pasting from Word is a lot safer in Canvas than it ever was in Blackboard, so you can usually get away with it. And I might center that and do all the usual stuff. I can bold it, I can make it bigger. So there's the little bit of text editing. And maybe I want a picture of myself in there. I've still got that image tab open over here, so I can just click on me there. So, and if I didn't find the image I wanted here, I could upload it right from within the content editor. I don't have to go out and go to the content collection or the file manager and upload it and then come back. I can do it right from here. Great interface design. So there's a, not a very extensive home page, but that you get the idea. You can put graphics and text. You can embed stuff. I can embed a video here if I wanted to very easily. Matter of fact, from YouTube, I could just click YouTube, the YouTube app, and search for let's see, something from Canvas. Let's see, let's see, I really have getting it started in Canvas for students. Canvas students. I'm searching YouTube from within Canvas. Just hit enter to activate the search. Canvas LMS Student Orientation Tour. I can put that right here. I can just embed it, and maybe medium-sized. I don't know who did that, but there it is. There's just nothing to it here. But up to this point, this page is kind of a cul-de-sac. The students go into it, but there's no good way to get out of it. I'd also like to send the students now to their course content, their modules. And they could always go over here and click on the modules tool. I could just put instructions to click on the modules tool on the left and start your course, but that's kind of lame. And there's another way to do that, and it illustrates an incredibly powerful feature of this editor that you don't have in the Blackboard content editor. So I'm going to just put a link here into this opening page. But that link is going to point at something inside the Canvas course. You can't do that with a Blackboard item, at least not effectively. You can link out to external websites from within a Blackboard item. You can put in a hyperlink, and you can do that here. But you can't, say on your Blackboard homepage, you can't put a link inside a Blackboard item that points to something inside the course. Here I can. I'm just going to say access, give it some text to anchor the link on, access course modules. And I'm going to highlight that text, and I'm going to go over here to the links tab. These are internal links in the content editor. I can link to other pages. I can link to assignments. I could put a link in a Canvas page to a homework assignment, or to a quiz, or an announcement, or a discussion forum, or to a module. If I just click modules, it gives me a list of my available modules. And I want them to start at the top, so I'm going to put the welcome module in there. But I could direct them to any individual module in the course. And that's all there is to making that an active internal link. And I could keep going. I could put lots of stuff on this page. Shoot, I could practically put the entire course on this page if I wanted to, but that wouldn't be real good design. Probably. But then every situation is different. But these Canvas pages are just amazingly powerful content tools. You can put anything in here. that you want to share with the students. So I'm just going to save that. And it'll take me to the actual, and this is what the students will see, more or less. And if they click here, they'll play that video.
Welcome to your Canvas online classroom.
If they click here, they'll actually go to the modules tool and they can begin the course. So we have our home page listed or created, but if I go up here and hit home, that's not where I go. I go back to the modules tool. So the next thing I need to show you is how to make that, what I call that page that I called home page, the actual home page, the first thing that people see when they enter the course. And this, I will say, is the one thing I've seen in Canvas that's maybe not quite as intuitive as it could be. I'm going to kind of take you through the process I went through the first time I did this. So I said, okay, there's something I got to do with that page to make it actually come up when I click home here, so, or when I first enter the course. So I'm going to go to the Pages tool. That's where I know that page is living. I've got a link to it. Well, I don't even have a link to it in module yet, so I could do that. But it's not necessary with this page, as I'll show you in a minute. And there it is amongst the, in alphabetical order, amongst the pages that I already have in this course. Home page. Okay. Well, let's go to it as we did before. Okie dokie. That's fine. But that doesn't really do me any good. So, all right, let's go back and view all the pages again. And there's the home page. So what can I do here? Well, I can publish it. That's part of what I might need to do, but did that do it? Nope. Okay, back to pages. And it goes back and it'll give me the list of pages again. So that didn't help. So let's look at the menu here. Associated, the context menu associated with this Canvas page. And, oh boy, that looks good. Use as front page. Now I'm getting somewhere. Click that. A little icon even appears here that indicates that this is the front page, the first thing people should see in the course. I'm good, right? I'm golden. Let's click home and crap. Not yet. The answer was here, staring, I will admit, to the Canvas designers, the answer was here, staring me in the face. But I spent about a half an hour at this point trying to figure out what the heck was wrong. Maybe you see it right off the bat. I didn't. It's over here in the task menu on the right. Oh, you really want this to be the home page? In that case, you got to choose the home page. And I'll show you why they do that. If I click that button, there are actually several different things, not just pages, that can come up when you first enter Canvas. One is the course modules tool, which is the default, which is great. If you're going to have a default, that's the one you want it to be, because that's where your course content is. You could also choose the course activity stream, which is just basically a list of things that have been happening in the course, like upcoming assignments and due and things like that. An assignments list or the syllabus, all potentially good choices. But the one we're trying to get right now is the front page in Pages. So the Canvas page that I've designated as the front page, quote unquote, in Canvas. And it even tells me that I've named that home page. So remember, this doesn't really mean anything. This could just as easily be start here or something like that. But then when I make that change and click Save, finally, when I go to Home, that home page I created pops up. So took a little doing, but it wasn't that hard. So now we have not only a fully functional Canvas course with lots of content in it, most of which we brought over from Blackboard, but it doesn't look as bad, especially if we had a better looking instructor. It would look a lot better. And it's ready to go. All I have to do is publish it. Bada bing. And now the course as a whole is available to students. I do have to go back to the modules and check through and make sure all of that stuff has a green check mark. And see, not all of it does. So I got to be a little careful. But other than little things like that, this sucker's ready to go. And that is something you will have to do. You will have to publish your own course. In Blackboard, we had the courses activate automatically for you. We had a way to do that. We don't really have a way to do that in Canvas. So you will be responsible for publishing your own courses when you are ready. Unfortunately, due to student services insistence, you won't be able to publish it before the first day of the course term, the first day of the class. You can publish it, but in fact, there's an extra little option in the administration menus that it fixes it so even though the course is published, the students can't access it until the 12:01 a.m. on the first day of class. Sorry, that wasn't our idea, but I know not all schools do that. It will not become available to them, though, unless you publish it. And if you're doing some last minute work, I can understand the inclination to, I'm just not going to publish it yet. I'll leave them out so they can't get in. Do us a favor. If you do that, please let your students know you've done that. Because guess what they do when they go in and they can't find their course in Canvas? They pick up the phone and they call the help desk. And we get people, wow, where's that course? Where's my course? And there's a lot of, we expect to get some of that. We'd like to get a minimum amount of it. So please, if you're not going to publish it the night before the beginning of the term or earlier, please let your students know so that they know not to call us. I'm sure that won't happen 100%, but we'd appreciate it if you could do that. All right, goodness gracious. We have added content to Canvas to our heart's content. Do you have any questions for me?
It looks good. I added content to my shell.
Yeah, just happening, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I see it. I see the chat tool. Just a second, let me bring that up. Somebody just put something in there. It'll come up here in a minute. There it is. Is it possible to request Canvas course shells for the summer if we know we're teaching then? Good question, Samantha. I'm glad you brought that up. You don't have to anymore. If you're teaching in the summer, you're going to get a Canvas course shell. It'll be up to you whether you decide to use it or not, but you don't have to request courses anymore. I should have mentioned that earlier. Thank you for asking that question.
Okay, so we only need to make a request if you want it before the next semester that we're teaching.
Oh, the course shells will appear as soon as we start the integration process, which I believe is set to start right now in the first week of April. And you'll get the course automatically. We can't give it to you before then, but we can give you a development shell at any time that you can put, get ready to go and have all your work done. But your live shells won't be available till sometime in April.
Okay.
So it's integrated through PeopleSoft once you're slated for a course that
Right.
automatically pops into your shell, that course with the CRN and everything?
That is correct. And everybody gets a shell. And if they choose not to use it, that's fine. It'll just sit there blank and it won't be published, so the students won't be able to get in and see a blank shell. But it'll be available to anyone, and that's for both online and on campus classes. All 4,500 sections or so at the district will get a shell on the same day. How long does it take for it to put it up? Like if a course is added to the course schedule in PeopleSoft, how long would it take to appear in Canvas? I can't give you a good solid answer to that right now because we're testing the integration right now. We hope that it won't be more than 4 hours, maybe less. There's some possibility it could be as much as 24 hours. It depends on basically on the capacity of PeopleSoft to kick out updates. And we're learning that as we go along because they're still working on PeopleSoft. As the locomotive is running at 60 miles an hour down toward the goal line for the summer term, they're still changing parts out on it. So I hope it won't be more than 4 hours. And that's true for students as well. The student puts in an ad code or registers for the course. They'll, before the beginning of the term, they'll show up in the roster in the course in the Canvas shell hopefully within about 4 hours. Will you get notified when the shell becomes available? Where will they be? Well, no. We'll send out a blanket notification to everyone. Actually, you will get a notification saying that, okay, the courses are up in Canvas. When you log into Canvas, you'll be dropped into your course or your system dashboard, and you'll see the course there as a title. So you'll know if you got it or not. And that's where you'll get them. Let's see if there's anything else that was... it seems to have answered all the questions in the chat tool right now. We're at 4:02 p.m., so technically the course is over, but I'm more than happy to answer questions as long as you have them. If you have more, just type them in, or I've got the chat tool up, or ask them if you got the microphone working.
Well, I'm all set. This has been really informative, so I just want to thank you before I leave today.
Well, you're most welcome. And get in touch with me when you have more questions. My email address, I should put into the chat tool, is dgibberso. I've still got my district address, sdccd.edu. And I would love to hear from you at any time. I love Canvas questions because I learn a lot about them as well, or from them.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
I have a question on the assessment library. Does it work very similar to Blackboard where you put it in a pool and you pull from that, or?
Yes, you can do that. Your question pools in Blackboard will come over into Canvas as question banks.
Okay.
And there are structures in the tests. What do they call it? Let's see here. You got the quizzes tool here. That's where you go to make quizzes. Or you can make them from within the module as well. Here are the quizzes that are already present in this course, but we just add a quiz. And you've got 2 tabs. You've got the details tab, which is the test options, same as the test options in Blackboard. And pretty much the same capability. And then you have the questions tab where you can actually add questions. This is edit the test in Blackboard. You can add a new question from scratch. You can add a new question group. And the question group is where you have Canvas pull questions at random from question banks.
Okay.
Or you can find individual questions, and it will allow you to search your question banks. I don't know if I have, well, you can search any old tests that you have or any question pools that you have. This course has fairly few. If I click there, let's see, 6 questions it says. And that's these. And if I wanted a couple of those questions, I'd just click them and add the questions to the test. Very similar to the way you do it in Blackboard.
Okay.
And the question groups, you've got one question out of that group, or how you pick the number of questions you want from the group, and have the number of points per question. This is like a question set in Blackboard.
Yeah.
And link to a question bank and go.
When you do the questions and you have a set of Word document, MS Word files with
Right.
questions, is there a way to bulk upload?
Oh, you mean you have tests in Word files with
Right.
test questions on?
You have to do it individually and do that and create.
I have looked for that. When I looked for it before, I didn't find anything, but it seems likely there is something. Can you put that question in the chat tool right now? And I'll get you an answer.
Okay. Okay.
It's going to take a little looking again.
Sure.
If I had to answer it right this minute, I'd say no. Because I did try, that question bank importer tool that works with Blackboard from the College of Southern Idaho, by the way. It doesn't work with Canvas. I tried it. I tried importing the zip files into Canvas and they didn't work. So I have this feeling there's got to be a way, but I haven't found it yet.
How about publisher's question? Is there a way of taking whatever their cartridge is and uploading it and putting it in the test bank?
Yes. If you have an actual cartridge, which they're getting rarer and rarer.
Right.
Because publishers want to send you to my doodly lab or whatever.
Right.
My chemistry lab. But
some of them do have ancillary stuff and there's question banks there.
Yeah. But if you do have a cartridge, yeah, it's an easy import. You just you do the same thing we did to import the Blackboard course. You go to import course content and you tell it what kind of import it is. And they'll probably have a Canvas course export package for you.
I see. Okay.
And then you just load that. Then you download their package to your hard drive and upload that. It works pretty much like we did loading content from Blackboard. Only it'll be cleaner if it was a Canvas export package to start with. It'll be, right. You probably won't have to do much massaging. If it's a publisher site, like My Math Lab or any of the other publishers' external content, it will be added through what's called an app. And Canvas app. You find those in your settings settings page under apps. There are just tons of them, but we only have a limited number installed right now.
Okay.
But all of I cannot imagine that all of the major publisher integrations will not be available here. They're certainly available.
Yeah.
And more than you'd ever use. But what they're trying to do at the district is put some muscle on the publishers right now to demonstrate their accessibility effectively. And this is a moment in time where we have some leverage, and they're using it.
Okay.
But we're supposed to have a meeting in the next couple of weeks to get that dealt with and start putting those in so that they show up under installed here.
Right.
You just got a few right now. There is your Google Apps and thing that you can install right now.
Okay.
But there will be a lot more here, and you'll be able to put those in from here. And remember, there was when you were creating modules manually, there was an option to add an external tool.
Okay.
And they'll appear here.
Okay.
Like Zoom.
Yeah. So I guess that in the questions again, it would recognize scientific notations and those things, right? Remember that we had that
It's
issue.
supposed to. That's all.
Okay.
That's all I will swear to right now. I have not personally tested that. They claim it does. And there's an equation editor in the content editor.
Yeah, I saw that.
Pretty good.
That's good.
But yes, it's supposed to recognize exponential notation.
Right. Okay. I know that in Blackboard we use Respondus in order to create bulk questions. If I can import MS Word document, that's much easier.
Yeah, you can import those into Respondus.
Yeah.
And as I haven't seen a current version of Respondus in a while, but I cannot imagine that it does not have an option to export a Respondus test in Canvas format, or in a format that Canvas can swallow, like QTI.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't imagine that.
Problem with Respondus was it was never Mac compatible. So
yeah, it was never that good. I agree, which is why we had a bulk license for a little while, and nobody really used it because it didn't work that well, so we dropped it. Right. But that is an option, and it may have gotten better over time. I just don't know. But I will find information for you on if that can be done, and what else you have to have, and how easy it is, and how well it works, and I'll send that to you, because that's something I need to know.
Okay.
I have looked at it, but I just don't remember finding anything that really cranked my tractor.
Thanks. That was very helpful. I'll probably set up a one-on-one with you as I create these. The bulk will be, of course, the question bank, because from what you've demonstrated here, I was able to import all my stuff in Chem 100 into my shell that was created here. I just need to arrange things and everything, but it looks good. And there's ways around when you get that message of actually uploading it to a different tab, and it shows fine.
Right. Oh, there's nothing we can't work out. It's just a matter of having to find the workarounds and so on occasionally.